I want to give you a hypothetical scenario here to really show the absurdity of what we're about to talk about in today's video. Suppose you're in school and you're competing with someone to see who's going to have the better score on the biology test. The other student, who we'll just call Sam for the purposes of this just to make it simple, has always scored higher than you in biology, and clearly knows his stuff. And the last time you guys took the test, Sam had a better score. And by a better score, I mean a way better score. Whereas your score was a 70, Sam's score was a 95. You publicly put Sam on blast and say, the only reason that Sam scored that high was because he was cheating. I guarantee that I'll have a better score on the next test. Keep in mind, there was no proof whatsoever that Sam was cheating. Sam most definitely did not cheat. He did not have an answer key. He did not look the answers up on his phone. He did not steal the test beforehand. He did not talk with anyone during the exam. Nothing. You accused him of cheating, and that's the reason why his score was significantly higher than yours. And sure enough, when the next test rolls around, to the surprise of no one, you score significantly worse than Sam, who, once again, was not cheating during any of this. Seems like a bizarre situation, right? Well, I bring that up because that's exactly what happened with the team that you've been watching this whole time, the 1946 New York Yankees. The rivalry between the AAFC and the NFL, the two professional football leagues in the late 1940s, was really bitter. It was bitter from an on-the-field standpoint in terms of acquiring talent, and it was also bitter from an off-the-field standpoint, not just in terms of scheduling games, which you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner, but in terms of attendance, as the two leagues were competing with each other to get the most skate revenue and the most butts in the seats. And this was especially true in markets like Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York, where there were teams in both leagues who were competing for bragging rights. And on November 17, 1946, when the New York Yankees took on the San Francisco 49ers in the AAFC in this game right here, the talk afterwards wasn't about what happened on the field, but rather was about what happened off of it. Because before the game, Yankee president Dan Topping, who was the brilliant baseball owner for the team of the same name, decided to say something so outlandish and so ridiculous that it looked nonsensical when all was said and done, to the surprise of no one. Because this is the story behind one of the dumbest attendance controversies in the history of professional football, and the rather one-sided rivalry at the time in that department between the New York Yankees of the AAFC and the New York Football Giants of the NFL. Make sure that you hit that like button down below, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we post on the channel. We post every single day on here about the weird and the wacky history of the NFL with stories like this one. So I would really appreciate your support if you like that sort of stuff and want to learn more about football. And with that in mind, let's talk about the Bronx Bomber prediction that truly bombed. Before I talk about the actual incident in question, we need some context to understand this game right here, as in the game that you've been watching this whole time and what its importance was. It's November 17th, 1946, and we find ourselves at Yankee Stadium for this interconference battle between the San Francisco 49ers and the New York Yankees in the AAFC. Yes, there is actual footage from this game. This is a big game for the Yankees in many ways, as not only is it a chance to sweep a solid 49ers team that they beat earlier in the opening game of the year, but it's a chance for them to win the division. Back in 1946, only the division winners made it to the playoffs. If you didn't win your division, you were on the outside looking in, no matter how good you were. And so far, the Yankees were in cruise control when it came to the Eastern Division. The Yankees entered this game with a 7-2-1 record, and no one was even remotely close to them with 4 games to go. The Brooklyn Dodgers were 3-5-1, the Buffalo Bisons were 3-7-1, and the Miami Seahawks were 2-8. This was the closest thing to the 2004 NFC East, where the Philadelphia Eagles were 13-3 and everyone else was 6-10, that we were going to see. Because it was the Yankees and everyone else. And if they won this game against the 49ers, then they would clinch the division with 3 games to go, giving them a ton of wiggle room and a chance to get healthy and game plan for their championship opponent way ahead of time. And sure enough, the Yankees clinched the division on their home field, defeating the 49ers by a final score of 10-9, thanks to scoring the final 10 points to the contest. The story of this game was New York's stifling defense, which was nothing short of superb on this day. San Francisco finished the 1946 season with the second-best offense in the league, only behind the Cleveland Browns. The Niners were so good offensively that they scored at least 30 points 5 times, scoring that many points more than 1 out of every 3 games. But on this day against the Yankees, absolutely nothing. Quarterback Frankie Albert was one of the best quarterbacks in football. He was an AP second-team All-Pro during that 1946 season, and he would lead the AAFC in touchdown passes in 1948 and 1949. During this game against the Yankees, however, he had just 55 yards passing, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a passer rating of 20.5, which is worse than if he did nothing but spike the ball into the ground on every single play. The 49ers were the #1 team in the league in 1946 when it came to running the football, and they finished the season having 3 games where they ran for over 200 yards. Against the Yankees, though, they had just 3.1 yards per carry, with a lot of runs getting stuffed at the line of scrimmage. San Francisco was second in the league in first downs gained. Against the Yankees, though, they had just 9. And the Niners ended up turning the ball over 3 times, including a critical interception in the fourth quarter, with the Niners down 10-9, trying to mount a comeback. The Yankees were the best team in the East all season, and this game, between their defense and a great, efficient game offensively by future Hall of Fame quarterback Ace Parker, was an emphatic statement to show that they deserve the division title. And as you might have been able to tell while watching these highlights, this game was taking place at Yankee Stadium. The reason why this is notable? Well, there was another game taking place at the same exact time, not even 1 mile away, as right across the Harlem River, the New York Giants were taking on the Boston Yanks at the Polo Grounds. Which means if you're keeping track at home, the Yanks, who would eventually move to New York and become the New York Yanks, were playing at the stadium across the street from Yankee Stadium, which was currently hosting a New York Yankees game. If your brain isn't in a pretzel after that, kudos to you. Anyways, both the Giants and the Yankees were fighting for football superiority in New York, and were trying to win the city. And both the Giants and the Yankees were good in 1946, with both teams advancing to their respective leagues' championship game before losing in the final. However, this was only the second time that the Giants and the Yankees were playing in New York on the same day. Over the first 2 months of the season, the schedule worked out pretty cleanly. The AAFC, which played a 14-game season compared to the 10-game season that the NFL had, started in September, whereas the NFL started in October. So there were no conflicts in September. There was not a single day in October where both the Yankees and the Giants were at home. The closest we got was in mid-October, when on Saturday, October 19th, the Yankees played at home and beat the Brooklyn Dodgers. And on Sunday, October 20th, 1 day later that same weekend, the Giants played at home and beat the Chicago Cardinals. But this Sunday, November 17th, there was that conflict, where at the same time this game between the Yankees and the 49ers was happening, the Giants were playing the Boston Yanks at the Polo Grounds, which is not even 1 mile away from Yankee Stadium, and tying them 28-28. This is not like a Giants-Jets situation where the teams were playing on complete opposite sides of the city. This is like if the USFL successfully moved to the fall, was still playing, and the Philadelphia Stars were playing at Citizens Bank Park at the same time that the Philadelphia Eagles were playing at Lincoln Financial Field. So naturally, there is going to be a rivalry between the two teams from an attendance standpoint. The first time it happened was the week before, when on November 10th, the New York Yankees played at home against the Los Angeles Dons and won 17-12. And the New York Giants played at home against the Philadelphia Eagles and won 45-17. The Yankees got blasted in the attendance battle, to the point where it wasn't even a competition. Whereas the Yankees drew 30,765 fans to Yankee Stadium, the Giants were able to draw 60,874 fans to the Polo Grounds, selling out the venue. The Giants doubled the Yankees in attendance last week. But this week was going to be different. Because in anticipation for this game right here that we've been watching this whole time, Yankee president Dan Topping guaranteed that the Yankees would outdraw the Giants. He said that the Giants were inflating their numbers by giving away free tickets. And if you take away all those free tickets, that the Yankees would absolutely come out on top this week. Said Topping, I don't know if we will have a bigger announced attendance than the Giants on Sunday, but I am certain that ours will gross more at the gate because we'll have less paper here. This was a Joe Namath level guarantee by Topping. The Yankees, who got doubled in attendance last week and were in a first-year league, were going to outdraw the Giants with both teams having big games to make it to the playoffs. And I need to bring up the elephant in the room, which is that there is no evidence, none whatsoever, to suggest that the Giants had given away free tickets. Giving away free tickets is generally a bad practice because it encourages people to not buy tickets, and it devalues your product. As an example, if it costs $1,000 to buy season tickets to a team, and you find out that your neighbor is getting into every game for free because the team is just giving away free tickets to get butts into the seats, you're not going to keep buying season tickets. Part of it is that you feel ripped off, and part of it is that the team is valuing their own product at a significantly worse price point than what you're paying. Why spend $1,000 when you can spend $0 and get the same experience? Now, that's not to say that teams haven't been dumb enough to try this. Roughly 3 decades later, the World Football League became infamous for this, as the Philadelphia Bell gave away free tickets like Santa Claus gives away presents, with one game drawing over 64,000 fans. And of those 64,000 fans, a whopping 58,000 of them got in for free. There's a reason that league folded after 2 seasons. The point is that when it comes to the New York Giants, I dug high and low and could not find any evidence whatsoever that they were giving away tickets for free. This was a blatant lie by Dan Topping, with no proof to back up his outlandish claim. Not only was he claiming that the Yankees would somehow outdraw the Giants, despite no evidence suggesting that this was possible, but he was doing this while claiming that the Giants were cheating, once again, despite no evidence to suggest that this was happening. It gave him a built-in excuse. If the Yankees outdrew the Giants, it would be a win, and if they didn't, you could just claim fraud and get the win. And I don't think it's going to come as a surprise to you that when it came to this Yankee 49er game right here, as you might have been able to tell with all the empty seats in the crowd, not many people showed up. The Yankees drew just 18,695 fans to Yankee Stadium on this day, as less than 19,000 people watched their team clinch the East Division. Across the Harlem River, the Giants' stunning tie against the previously 0-7 Boston Yanks was viewed by 35,583 people. So the Giants doubled the Yankees in attendance. Chalk one up to the Giants there. However, to be fair to Topping, he expressed uncertainty about the actual attendance number. He expressed certainty about the gate receipts. He was confident that the Yankees would make more money from ticket sales than the Giants, which is a weird thing to brag about because I'm sure every single fan of a team is emotionless while watching the game, but they cry tears of joy and run around the house when they find out the team's financials are good. That's why we watch sports. So, was Topping right on this? Well, there's good and bad news. The bad news is that we don't have the exact data. The good news, however, is we can get pretty close to it and see just how bad Topping's guarantee was. We can do a pretty close estimate, all things considered. If you want to put your hypothesis in the comments, you can, but I must warn you, the results will not even be the slightest bit surprising. I couldn't find the exact number for this game, but later on in the season, when the New York Giants played the Chicago Bears at the Polo Grounds, it was attended by 58,346 spectators. All spectators combined paid $282,955.25 for the tickets. If we divide the two numbers, then the fans attending a Giants game in 1946 paid an average of $4.85 for a ticket. Today, this comes out to $79.36. Like I said earlier, the Giants game against the Yanks was attended by 35,583 people. Assuming that same ticket price, because there's no way that dynamic ticket pricing was a thing in 1946 the way that it is today, and multiply 35,583 fans with $4.85, and the Giants made $172,577.55 from ticket sales. The Yankees drew 18,695 fans to their game. So if we divide the total receipts by the Giants and the Yankees' attendance, it means that for the Yankees to tie the Giants in revenue, they will need to sell their tickets for an average price of $9.23. And I will bet my bottom dollar that there is no way, none whatsoever, that the average ticket price for the Yankees on this day was $9.23. No one would buy it at that price. That comes out to over $151 today. For some perspective on how insane that average price is, in 2023, the average ticket price for the NFL was $120. The NFL is basically a religion at this point. It is the most powerful league in the country, and it is watched and supported by tens of millions of people in this country. Adjusting for inflation, the only way for the New York Yankees, in a league in its very first year, when football was nowhere close to the king and when it was not widely supported, to have had higher ticket sales than the Giants would have been for their average ticket price to be 25% higher than what a ticket costs today. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm going to call bull on that one. If I'm wrong, I'll own it all the way. But I'm going to take a wild guess and say that based on the available data that we've got, there is no way, none whatsoever, that Dan Topping was right on this one. The Giants absolutely creamed the Yankees when it came to not just ticket sales, but butts in the seats. Topping looked like an absolute idiot here. Now, there was a point where the Yankees and the Giants were competitive in attendance with each other. In 1947 and in 1948, oddly enough, the Yankees did in fact have a higher average attendance than the Giants. To be fair, the Yankees were 11-2-1 in 1947 and made it to the AAFC Championship, while the Giants were 2-8-2 and were the worst team in the NFL. But still, the Yankees did more than hold their own in this market for a brief period of time. But on this day in 1946, during this game, not even remotely close. So as a word to the wise, don't make claims you can't possibly back up, and don't accuse an opposing side of cheating when there is no evidence to suggest this, because it comes off as sour grapes. Because on this November day in 1946, Dan Topping definitely did not come out on top. Be sure to like and subscribe if you have not done so already, as it helps the channel out a lot, and check out my other channels, JG8 for the history of college football, JG7 for the history of baseball, and JG9 News, where we talk about all things happening in the NFL. Join me every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we'll play live NFL trivia for cash prizes. And make sure to join me live, as we're on stream just about every single day. And thanks to all our Patreon members and our YouTube members for helping out the channel. See how you become a member and show your support financially in the description down below.